Hi, my name is Ken Schwartz of Precise Sharpening, and today I'm going to demonstrate the 4000 grit Nubatama bamboo series stone. As you can see in the box over here, that's the Nubatama, that's the bamboo series, the other series being the plum series. This is the 4000 grit stone. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate it is I'm going to be working on two knives. One is a Blazen. It's a 270 Sujihiki. This is a powdered steel knife. And the other one is a somewhat interesting knife. It is also a Nubatama knife. This particular one is a white steel. White number 2 steel. It's a reject. It's a one to practice. He has extremely high standards, blacksmith, so there's a small flaw right at the tip, which is the reason that it was rejected. It's otherwise quite excellent knife. You can see all the fit and finish on it is superb. You can also see there's a natural stone finish on it. So in some instances, for instance with a Deba, which is used primarily for cutting through fish bones and filleting fish, you don't particularly want to go to an extremely high finish. So a 4000 grit is a rather optimal finish for it. What I'll be doing is taking off most of the natural stone finish and seeing how it affects that finish. And then in the future use this as a baseline for adding a natural stone finish to this Deba, Deba without the handle. Again, I want to emphasize this is a practice knife. This is not as high a standard as the extremely high standards that the Nubatama knife maker insists on. So again, let's do our usual routine, and I want to put a little bit of water on to get a sense of the porosity of the stone, and then we'll start sharpening first the Deba and then the Blazen. So here we go. Okay, less porous than the 1000 grit stone that I did a little earlier. Some porosity, but fairly slow. So I won't be needing to add too terribly much water to the stone originally. The stone has a slightly rough finish for so fine of a stone, but I can tell you from experience that sometimes that initial roughness is from the lapping of the stone rather than the grit of the stone itself, which can be limiting. So after we get done sharpening, if I remember, I'll also feel it. I'm sure that it will be an even finer finish. So again, you can see even after wiping a lot of the water off, very, very little absorption. I'll just add a touch there, and let's give this a shot here. So again, with the Deba, you want to be flush. You want to put a little pressure here so that you get to the edge and not mess up this line right along here, shinogi line. So here we go. Let's see. Okay, immediately we can tell it's a far quieter stone than, let's say, the 1000 grit ume, which I did immediately preceding this. Very smooth. I'm not applying much pressure. I'm immediately getting metal swarf, so it's both fast cutting, very smooth. The immediate impression is one of smoothness. We can hear a slight change in pitch when it's a little bit dry. And again, this, I've not done any soaking. This is coming straight out of the box. quick cutting for a fine grit stone. I consider 4000 fine grit stone. Again, I periodically will come up, grab a little of the mud that goes towards one end of the stone or the other. I'm running this somewhat dry. In practice, you might want to soak the stone for a couple minutes before use, but it's pretty much largely unnecessary with the stone. I mean, this is pretty close to being a splash and go type stone. Little absorption, but pretty much splash and go. Works up a very nice, smooth mud. Now, when I feel the stone, it's silky smooth. So again, that was the initial flattening of the stone finish, which can sometimes be misleading. This stone is smooth as silk. So let's take a look and see what we see here. Okay. All right, so we still see a preservation of the contrast between the soft and hard, in this case, white number 2 steel. Let's rinse it off a bit. Okay. Very clean. Slight but hardly any decrease in contrast, but a little smoothing out, which is something you would see with a synthetic stone. But yeah, all in all, very nice finish. Very nice. Let you listen to the stone for a while. I wouldn't characterize this as an extremely muddy stone, but it does generate some mud, which makes for a smoother, easier to control finish. Works very well with a white number 2 steel. Very consistent, high quality stone. Almost silent. And just a light touch on the back. And just because on some debas you prefer a little bit heavier grind towards the heel, we'll put a slight micro bevel on it by lifting up, just slight. I often reserve this towards a later stone, but just from here to here, just slight bit, and I'll roll it down towards here to where there's none. So from here down to flat. Okay, so looking at the mud, extremely smooth, very nice. Okay. And what we can see is that there is a slight decrease in the scratch pattern in the softer steel. The harder white steel is a near mirror finish. You can see the reflection of the light in there quite nicely. Again, very pleased with this stone. Alright, so now let's go on to this powdered metal steel. Very, very different. Couldn't be more different. So, again, let's run here right about there is the angle that we're going to use. Okay, well, there's a little hair of mine in there. Okay, so let's go. A useful little tip: when you're sharpening, you can go perpendicular to the stone. Okay, but as you start going around the corner here, you want to still be perpendicular but to the curve. Right. Some people try and achieve this less precisely by raising the edge, but this is unnecessary. And if you want, what you can also do is do sweeps, where you start at the top of the stone, work your way down, so you're using the full length of the stone. There's a 270 millimeter knife. So nice long sweeps. I'm getting very consistent, smooth effect. Very much like the feel of the stone. I'll do the back side just a little bit. I find I like to do it sectionally initially and then do the larger sweeps. This gives me more control of burr formation and so forth. We can see the stones drying just a little bit, but very little. Okay. Much, much smoother than the initial surface. So we know that the stone itself, it's extremely smooth. Very nice, very comfortably 4,000 grit or higher. So take a look here and have a nice edge. We can look at a paper towel. I expect to get a less toothy edge than one would see with a 1,000 grit stone. And indeed that's the case. So let's see. Very clean, very clean. Very nice. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you spending a little time with me on the introduction to this stone. These are available over at Chef Knives to Go in Ken's Corner. Again, this is the 4,000 grit bamboo series stone right here.